Shalom, welcome to part 2 of 6 by 6, 6 minutes and 6 days. You get a whole idea from the Lubavitcher Rebbe. And just to review very fast what we're up to, we talked about how the angels were arguing to the Almighty that they should be getting the Torah and not the Jewish people, the human beings. And Moshe answered them up, well, we were the ones who went into Egypt, like the first commandment. You killed people, you have parents, and so on, and therefore the Torah, the Ten Commandments for sure, but the entire Torah really belongs to us. And the Rebbe goes deeper, and we explain what bar mitzvah is. Like if you're a neighbor buying a property, you have precedent over some guy from another city and wanting to buy it, because obviously it's easier. You can understand the righteous idea behind it. It's only right to give a neighbor, would make his life easier, to have two fields next to each other to plow and to seed instead of him having a field a mile away. So we understand that, and that's what we're up to. Now, how does this apply? Again, it's very interesting law about real estate. How does that apply to the giving of the Torah? And one of the ideas is that Moshe Rabbeinu, so that's what their argument was, that the Torah is heavenly, and we talked about it last time. It's not just a nice little law book, but it's Torah. And Torah is from the Almighty, and it's very holy and very spiritual. I mean, we learn on a basic level, but they're all deeper spiritual levels to the idea of the Torah. And so they said, well, who's spiritual? Angels or human beings? Well, of course, angels are more spiritual than human beings. So therefore, if you're dealing with a spiritual Torah, then you really should, we're next door neighbors, so to speak. I mean, and using that idea, the Rebbe is so profound, using this idea of next door neighbors, we're the spiritual people. You give a spiritual Torah to spiritual angels. Isn't that right? And Moshe had to answer this up. And he did answer it up. And the idea would be that it only applies to fields, as we were talking about. What a metaltalin. Maybe I have one apple cider press. Oh, you're selling an apple cider press? Well, it'd be better for me to have two. I want to expand my business. No, the idea of bar mitzvah, and again, bar mitzvah is the Hebrew, the Aramaic expression for next door neighbor, boundary literally, a mitzvah, next door neighbor. The idea of only with fields, but not saying, well, what are you selling apple cider? I have one, I could use another one. It only applies to fields. And again, Torah is not a land, it's a movable object, so it doesn't pertain to you angels. You think that your next door neighbor is the spirituality, but we're talking about the Torah, and that's movable objects. The idea is also it doesn't apply to a gift. Again, we were talking about if you want to sell your field, but that would be apropos. But not if, of course, that it's a gift. So then again, that would be an exception. And Torah is a gift, that Torah Tzivlonim Moshe, that is also an inheritance also to the Jewish people. So it's a gift, an inheritance, and therefore the idea of bar mitzvah does not apply. And another idea that it doesn't apply to relatives. You want to give it to, sell it. Well, I got a son, I want to help him out, I'd rather give it to him. So again, the relative has precedence over a next door neighbor, and the Jewish people are relatives. We say, Bani matam l'Hashem l'kechem, you are children to Hashem, and therefore the Jewish people have precedence, and angels can't scream, hey, and argue, we're bar mates or we're next door neighbors. So that's another very important point. And also that Moshe was it says that when a person judges, and if you remember the Chumash, Moshe judged the people from morning to night, and he had to have his father-in-law, Jethro, come into the camp and say, this is too much. One person can't be a judge over everybody, 600,000 people. I mean, we're videotaping from the Albany area. I mean, the whole Albany area with Albany and all the suburbs are 800,000, 900,000, like the whole area. To have one judge for all the civil cases, you see how many judges are needed, and And how many, they take one case, takes so many times. You sue somebody, it takes many days. How can one person handle this? You better set up the appellate system, which we have today. You have a lower court, and they take care of the cases. It's only the higher people, the Supreme Court, the appellate courts, that deal with the very difficult cases. They don't have the same caseload as the other people. So these are the, also another idea, then one more idea, is that Moshe Rabbeinu wasn't just a man, he's called Ish Elokim, a godly man. And therefore he says, well, that was our argument, or the angel's argument was that, hey, we're spiritual, Torah spiritual belongs to us. Well, Moshe Rabbeinu was also a godly man. He says, I'm also very spiritual, so I can also have precedent over the Torah also. So therefore, there's 5 ideas where Moses argued back to the angels, hey, you angels are saying you're closer to the Torah, you're spiritual. On the other hand, that the Jewish people deserve the Torah, overriding your argument about a bar mitzvah, about being connected to it. All right, we're going to continue and go even deeper into this idea how the Jewish people deserve, is only right that they receive the Torah.